A very good morning to all of you. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be here this morning with all of you. I can feel the tangible energy in the presence of all of you in this hall, who is virtually a who's and who of the energy sector. The sector is witnessing so much change that even to witness this sort of transformation, it's a pleasure, but to be actively working in this sector is truly divine. I'd like to thank EMA and Electrama for anchoring this initiative and ensuring that all the stakeholders come to this exhibition and to this World Utilities Meet. I'll try to present the perspective of the sector from the prism of a state's point of view, from a provincial point of view, and of a state which has seen very high renewable energy penetration. I'll also touch upon the challenges which lie before us, the opportunities that are available in the sector for the industry, and what is the way forward. I'm sure over the 2 days, yesterday and today, you've had great deliberations, very vibrant participation of all the stakeholders, very fruitful interaction. New partnerships have been forged, new friendships have been made, and you all will go back with sharp insights and smart solutions. The power sector has been truly transformational, right from renewable energy to the storage solutions, to the fact that there can be decentralized generation, decentralized consumption, the opportunities which e-mobility opens up for this sector. Can we imagine that, sunlight falling on inert material and that the electricity can flow, that we don't need large boilers and turbines to generate electricity, that electricity can be generated on the rooftop? Could we imagine that energy could be stored in not just in small cell and batteries, but on a mega scale, that vehicles could run on electricity? Now, these are changes which are truly transformational. And these changes have led, in my view, to some really exciting accomplishments, and the possibilities which it has opened up are truly endless. But it has also created a lot of challenges. The challenges of how do you balance demand and supply. Karnataka, the state which I represent, Bangalore is the capital, we have so quickly moved from a deficit to a surplus state, and yet because of the traits of renewable energy, that it is seasonal, that it is unpredictable, that is intermittent, has led to a lot of challenges merely in balancing demand and supply. Also, it has led to challenges in regulating the frequency, in managing the renewable energy with all its problems, and to provide autonomy for consumers. The grid integration, because of this high penetration of renewable energy, are all the challenges that we are all struggling with. Now, these challenges undoubtedly have led to a lot of innovations, both in outcomes and in processes, and there have been some truly remarkable technological breakthroughs. But I think what is needed is a collaborative response from the industry, some quantum jump in research and development, new business models, and an enabling regulatory and policy framework to truly encourage and catalyze the sector even further. Also, I think we will need to do a lot in skill development, because the new technologies are coming. The kind of skills which are required would be very different from what we have seen. Now, coming to the state of Karnataka, just to give you a picture in a nutshell, our total installed capacity of electricity is about 29,966 megawatts. Of this, 14,863 megawatts is coming from renewables alone. We have installed capacity of 7,222 megawatts in solar. The screen, okay. The wind capacity we have is about 4,800. We have co-generation of 1,731 megawatts. We have mini hydel of about 900 megawatts. And if you see, even from the national perspective, we stand first in terms of renewables. Almost 18% of the total renewable energy is being generated in Karnataka. The renewable purchase obligation, our achievement is at 32% against the required norm of 17%. Now this high penetration of renewable has thrown up some different challenges also. As you know, renewables enjoy the must-run status in our country, and therefore it cannot be backed down. And that leads to underdrawal of our thermal energy, especially from the central generating stations, which leads to financial implications for the DISCOMs, because they have to pay for the energy charges, fixed charges, and even if there is underdrawal, then the capacity charges also. Also, because of the unpredictability, it's very difficult to assess what would be the surplus or the deficit on any given day or time of the year. The seasonality and the intermittency creates huge challenges for the grid operators, and this inadequate injection or absorption of the reactive power throws up challenges in maintaining the voltages. Now these challenges are also opportunities for you, and therefore I am focusing on these. The unpredictable nature of solar energy also leads to steep ramp up and ramping down of the thermal power, which puts a lot of stress on the thermal assets. There's more wear and tear. There's the PLF, the plant load factor of thermal power stations has come down. So these challenges are something which all states will have to grapple with in the sector. In Karnataka, on an average day, our renewable and our must-run central generating stations, which have to operate on a minimum bar, and with our own thermal capacity, our generation is almost 13,000 to 14,000 megawatts. But our average consumption on any particular day is about 9,000 to 10,000 megawatts, although on certain days in certain months we have reached 13,000 megawatts also, the peak demand. So we, on an average day, we have surplus of almost 4,000 to 5,000 megawatts, which we have to sell at a short notice at a low cost, whereas our average cost of power is fairly high because we are still stuck with a lot of old power purchase agreements where the cost of power was high and we are committed to purchase that power. So that throws up a different nature of challenge. Although the renewable energy is much cheaper, the fact that we have the legacy of committed conventional power, how do we address those issues is something that all of us will have to work on. The challenges that we have are in a way opportunities for the industry and for all of us. Storage, I think, will be a huge area in years to come. I feel that, in our state with so much of renewable energy, if we can pair our renewable energy with storage, even to an extent of about 2,000 megawatts, the day is not far when we will be able to meet our demand on most days with renewable energy alone. If that happens, what happens to all the thermal capacity that we have? Do we have to retire them? Do we have to use them differently? So these are the optimization challenges will be something very, very important. We have also invested hugely in evacuation of the renewable energy. So for transmission of that energy, but which many times lies idle during the non-generating period. So how do we best utilize the capacities that we have created? We need to identify the constraints in transmission and distribution so that the consumption can increase. The DISCOMs are now finding it hard to sell the energy that they have access to. And a lot of the high-paying consumers, the HT consumers, are now migrating to open access because energy is available at lower costs outside. I mean, consumers should have that autonomy, but what would be the implications of that on the state utilities or on even other private sector utilities is something that we will have to grapple with. The need of the hour, I think, is flexible resources of energy which can be used at different times. So whether the existing power plants also can be operated in a flexible way, or is storage the only answer, and if it is, then what kind of storage? Should it be battery storage? Should it be pump storage? Should it be some other kind of storage? What would be the extent of storage that each state will require? How to make it more affordable? I believe in the US the storage costs have come down significantly in the last couple of years. So if that happens, then the scenario, the energy sector in the state will change even further. So far what we have done is that, I mean, we are trying to manage the load by shifting a lot of load to the solar period, especially in the agricultural sector, where earlier the irrigation pump sets were getting electricity. Since they get free electricity, that electricity was supplied mostly in the nights, which was not convenient for the farmers. Now we have moved it to the solar period, so to manage our peak load a little better, and that has really helped both the farmers and in terms of the load management. We are fortunate that in our state we have fair amount of hydel energy also, which is now being used to balance and to fill the gap due to the intermittent and seasonal nature of the renewable energy. Major hydel energy is being used both for peak load and base load management. But these are all short-term responses. What we look for are some technological breakthroughs and some process re-engineering to ensure that the sector is managed better. We need better forecasting techniques. So if any industry has done well in terms of forecasting of wind speeds or solar radiation and so on, that will really help states which have high renewable penetration. The identification of constraints in transmission and distribution to reduce those losses in terms of load management, in terms of smart metering. We are investing a lot in the coming years in underground cables, because for new transmission lines and distribution lines, the ROW is going to be a big issue. One, because of the cost of acquisition, land acquisition. Secondly, because of the environmental clearances which would be required, and therefore we may have to go underground in certain parts of the coverage area. We'll need better stations, substations, transformers, conductors to improve the efficiencies. So these are the areas where there are opportunities for the industry, but I feel that the governments, the policies, the regulatory framework, the regulators and the industry will have to jointly work, collaborate and come up with solutions in these areas. But there are huge opportunities in the sector, and the way the sector is performing, I am very hopeful that with the support of the industry, the domain experts, the scientists and the regulators, we will be able to manage all that to make energy a truly vibrant sector in the coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahendra Jain. I would now like to invite Dr. Kannantiniam to give a memento to Mr. Mahendra Jain. We'll have